had to bring in not just one PHNX Cardinals guy, two of the PHNX Cardinals guys, and their producer behind the Mac. It is Bo, it is Johnny, and I got to admit to you guys, Johnny, I forgot that I had booked you, and then Bo had said, I'll come in after the press conference.
Wow.
Well, Johnny
what
apparently
kind of parent
is muted,
trap is this?
We can't hear Johnny anyway, so I'm glad I got Bo.
That's just how it goes.
Bo, you were out at the press conference. We'll let Johnny figure out his technical side.
You guys, this is you sabotaged me a day after my birthday. I don't appreciate it. Bo, go ahead.
Look, Johnny, you have the best hair on the entire program. Does that help?
Wow.
Even in your late 50s, you look great.
Hey.
Bo, you were out at the press conferences. What did you make of the Cardinals finally getting in front of the mics, talking coaching staff? You had Mike LaFleur, Nick Rallis, Hackett out there. What did you make of the whole thing that you saw?
Well, it's something we knew with Mike LaFleur when that just dreaded coaching search finally came to an end, a conclusion. And the Cardinals, although Kubiak was the last hire officially, but the Cardinals were the last hire. What we knew through all these smoke and mirrors and silence from the organization, no updates outside of insider reports out there, is once you put somebody up in front of a mic, it looks well on your organization. Like Mike LaFleur, and it's pretty easy to do, won the press conference. And that's what we witnessed today. After more silence, more kind of going and running away from this big problem that is, the Cardinals organization, once you kind of put faces to the new regime, you start to like them. Like you get put at ease more with LaFleur and Nathaniel Hackett and the idea of Nick Rallis returning as defensive coordinator. So that was kind of my overall takeaway. But it was good to hear from Nick, and it was definitely good to hear from Nathaniel Hackett, who's polarizing based on his recent run in the NFL.
Johnny, what was your read of what you heard? And then we can get into some specifics, but what was your general feel when it came to the press conference?
I think it's easy to say, hey, we got honest guys because of how things ended with Jonathan Gannon. But I think I'd be remiss if I didn't say, we vibed with JG early in his pressers, right? Everything, this is an easy box to check, and give them credit. They checked it 6 months before they have to play a game. But it is refreshing. Whatever the Cardinals did with Jonathan Gannon and how he was muzzled toward the tail end of his tenure, it is refreshing to have Mike LaFleur be up there and be transparent and say, Nathaniel Hackett is my guy, has always been my guy. I wanted him here. I saw people poo-pooing his comments saying, well, of course they did. Nobody else would take this job. They didn't interview anybody else. This was always the offensive coordinator, right? We didn't hear any other names. We asked people on Radio Row. So whether or not you think it's a good decision or not, that's a different conversation. But clearly Mike and Matt came together and it was we got to get Nathaniel Hackett in Arizona. So, you watch him today, he's like a big teddy bear. And we knew that. We've had experience with him before as a beat, as all city. He is a very likable guy. And here's the good news for him is that, Nick Rallis took some heat, but it was Jonathan Gannon who got fired because of his defense last year. The offense is going to succeed because of Mike LaFleur or not, right? And Nathaniel Hackett gets to be we've talked about on our show, chief vibes officer. And the vibes were good today.
So I gave the Suns credit, or at least didn't rip them for hiring guys with familiarity. And I give MLF a lot of credit for the fact that he stood by Hackett in terms of this. And it's I know this guy. I trust this guy. He has experience. That's why he's my guy. I will give him a lot of leeway on that and a lot of rope when it comes to that. And I think that the guy that fixes their PR problems is Mike LaFleur, not putting Monty out there, not putting Michael out there. It's LaFleur that will fix the PR problems in the long run, as long as there's football success. But what I still don't understand is why Nick Rallis came back, because there's no real line connecting that necessarily. So Bo, what did you hear What was said from Mike LaFleur that kind of explained that? And did you feel any better about it?
I don't know if ultimately you can really kind of feel great, warm and fuzzy about this. I mean, I think you see what Mike LaFleur has learned about Nick Rallis, who we've said, for lack of a better way to put it, like he was held hostage by this organization until, maybe they found a better option. But what I think Mike LaFleur learned about being around Nick Rallis and the conversations they had before they decided to bring him back, that is at least two reported offers made between that to Gus Bradley and another name that we should probably don't have permission to say here, but I think Nick Rallis can really wow you, can impress you. I think he's a guy that where going into last season you saw the budding defensive prodigy that was going to be on the fast track to becoming a head coach in his own right, and him trying to knock off the remnants of just a brutal season that the previous staff had to endure in 2025. So, I think Nick, he didn't hide from anything. Mike, I asked him, how are the holdovers? How are they buying in? And he was transparent as possible. He was like, well, to my face, so far so good. But I think Nick Rallis, it's a matter of, can you get him back to neutral? Can you get him back on track as far as where he was going into this season? Because obviously in this, recency bias, the fan base, this is something that has left a bad taste in their mouth. But I think Nick Rallis has the ability to turn the tables back in his favor and make himself look like an up and coming, I think leader of men and on that defensive side of the football.
Johnny, a question for you, because internally, everything I've learned over the years makes me want to sit here and go, this was in part a money decision. You've said, and you've been on the record, that this wasn't them going cheap by keeping Rallis. Sell me on why I should believe that, because as much as I want to, that little voice in my head still says, well, this is the Cardinals.
No, I think it's easy to say that, but we had people tell us that they offered more money to Gus Bradley. So, like, if they were going to offer Gus Bradley more money than Tennessee, like, why would they not be aggressive with the rest of their potential staff hirings? You think about what happened with Clint Kubiak. They offered him a substantial amount. He didn't take the job. I think this is very much just like the Cardinals were not an attractive destination for premier head coaching candidates and premier defensive coaching candidates that had options. And, like, do I think they could have hired like an Aubrey Pleasant? Yeah, but like Aubrey Pleasant didn't get another job, right? And I think that they looked at Carl Scott, who turned them down with Seattle, and Gus Bradley, who turned them down, and just probably said, like, what are we doing? We got a guy who's called the defense for the last 3 years here in Arizona. Well, let's try to fill in some gaps on his staff. We're going to talk about his new defensive line coach, which I think is a home run hire, desperately needed in Peter Kwiatkowski, who's been Texas's defensive coordinator for the last 5 years, did a hell of a job there. Like, I think at the end of the day, it was just like, what are we overthinking this? Because I'm sure, and this is what I think was the deciding factor, whether people want to believe this or not, is that Matt has influence on Mike, and good, because Matt's super successful, and Matt's defensive coordinator is Jonathan Gannon. And if those two are championing Nick Rallis to Mike LaFleur, it's like, okay, you might like Aubrey Pleasant. He's never been a coordinator before. Nick Rallis has shut down this offense 2024. Mike talked about it today. So here's the good news for Cardinal fans. If it works, Mike looks like a genius, and you get to pivot into, hopefully a future DC for the next couple of years that has success. If it doesn't work, you fire Nick Rallis next January, and you get a jump start on looking for a defensive coordinator instead of, they were looking for a DC like 6 weeks in. You just, the barrel was kind of picked over. So it's a 1 year flyer wait and see. And I think everybody knows, including Nick, like, he's got a huge magnifying glass on him.
Bo, what specifically did you hear from either of the coordinators that stood out to you?
I mean, Rallis is, when I asked him as far as, are you going to make changes? I think he can't run from that. You have to understand that that's more of his philosophy, is you have to kind of burn it to the ground and then restart anyway, just how often this league changes. So he's very open-minded to changing how things are done. Now, he's not going to just change for the sake of change as well. When you've got Rallis in place, you've got the players that Monty handpicked to fit Gannon and Rollis's system. Does it make sense to depart from that maybe scheme just to do so, just to say, hey, we're doing it differently? And so I think he's got that mindset that he wants to make sure this works. And now you don't have the head coach in place to where those philosophies are just baked in. So now if Nick has to change and Mike understands it's going to be for the betterment of them playing defensive side of the football, like that's going to be good, instead of JG and saying, well, we do this. And I'm not saying that Gannon did that, but you don't have that from your head coaching standpoint. And they can also bounce back stuff like Mike LaFleur. How did he game plan against Nick Rallis? How did they find, holes in his scheme to help them make themselves successful? So I liked what I heard from Rallis. But you get the sense that this added more fuel to Nick Rallis. Like this really this developed maybe a chip on his shoulder where he wants to prove everybody wrong and understand that he wasn't their first choice, and he's going to prove that he should have been the only choice.
Speaking of wasn't first choice, and this is for both of you, we've heard a lot of in these press conferences, a lot of mentioning and or thanking Robert Saleh. Obviously, the Cardinals were very interested in Robert Saleh. Should I feel good about the fact that a lot of the guys they wound up with have ties to Saleh, or should I feel like you just got the guys that were around the guy you really wanted?
I mean, I think this is a brotherhood, and I think this is a coaching tree that's had varying levels of success, uber success as coordinators. And listen, I feel pretty confident, I think Bo could echo it, of like the realistic candidates that they interviewed. Robert Saleh was probably their first choice. Had head coaching experience before, dominated in the division, has put together a pretty good staff in Tennessee. And they couldn't get Robert Saleh, right? Like we never subscribed to the narrative like they were seriously going to get like a John Harbaugh, right, or Mike Tomlin. But like Saleh interviewed with him and was going to do a second, and then didn't get to the second, right? So like they wanted to go from that tree. I love that they're embracing it. I love that Mike had his brother Matt at the press conference. Like, don't be naive to think like, hey, we're going to do it our way. We're going to get coaches outside of this tree to come in and win in the NFC West. It's just, it's fool's gold. So, I mean, like, do I think Robert Saleh is going to have a ton of success with Tennessee? I don't, but I also think that like he would have been a great hire here. And, he's probably the best defensive coordinator in the NFL.
Bo, do you agree with Johnny's assessment there?
Yeah, I mean, I think Robert Saleh just happens to be part of the new NFL Brat Pack, right? I mean, it's Emilio Estevez, it's Charlie Sheen, it's Demi Moore. I might be butchering who was actually
Molly Ringwald part of that?
He was, yeah.
Absolutely. I think that's Sean McVay, probably the leader right now, or Shanahan. But like that's the cool kids as far as the NFL goes, and I think you want to be a part of that. Like Steve Keim and Michael Bidwell wanted to be a part of that. The very beginning with Sean McVay, and they finally got a guy that's in it, and that also plays into the Hackett move, like this conviction that Mike LaFleur has in Nate Hackett. It's like you want some of the guys from Matt LaFleur's system. Well, this is the guy he picked. It's Nathaniel Hackett. You might not like it, but that's part of Matt's success, which Mike wants to be part of his success. So that's really kind of where the Saleh thing, where a lot of the kind of the nice things that are being said about him in these press conferences are coming from, is just he happens to be a part of that inner circle.
All right. Question from the bias. Hello says, I've realized the Cardinals are the Sacramento Kings of the NFL. They don't tank or suck on purpose. They just are bad while trying to be good. Do you agree with said comment?
I think they tanked the 2023 season. I mean, and they got gifted a top 5 pick, but yeah. I don't know. I think for no disrespect to the NBA, like the NFL is king. So I would rather be the most irrelevant NFL franchise than like an upper third NBA team. That's just my opinion. And I think the Cardinals are a Mike LaFleur quality coach hire away from being relevant again. And we like the NBA, unfortunately, it takes purposely tanking to get your act together in a lot of ways, which Espo, I heard your argument, I agree with, which is bad for the league. The NFL does not subscribe to that narrative. You can like the right coach and the right infrastructure can get your act together, a la Bruce Arians, in one off season. So I couldn't name one Kings player, by the way.
Sacramento Queens. I mean, I remember. I mean, that was their heyday, and it was, you know, they played the bridesmaid. They didn't even get out of the Western Conference Finals. Think about Sacramento, even like those teams like Chris Webber. I remember reading articles is like Sacramento is boring. Sacramento is not a destination. It's hidden up there in obscurity in Northern California, to where, you know, Nate Hackett's coming in today and he's just like, this is unbelievable. Like, we're opening up the doors and windows of the office. People are wearing shorts. People have smiles on their face. Gobriel, their or Gobi, their special teams coach, like, he's elated to be out here. You know, I think it's with the new facility coming, and we'll be at the groundbreaking tomorrow. Like, the Arizona Cardinals, like, they can make that the new mecca of desert football. And, you know, once people get out here, they realize the hidden gem that is Sacramento doesn't have that.
Final question for you guys. After these press conferences, you project forward to October or November. Are we talking more about Wi-Fi, casitas, or the football on the field?
I think the football. I think anytime you get a new head coach, you're intrigued with what they can bring to the table. A lot of it's going to be dictated on their schedule early. I would love for them to have some cupcakes to be able to get the rest off.
I think you were going to say schedule. I thought you were going to say what was going to dictate is who's playing quarterback for this.
Yeah,
team.
that's where not well said. That's where I'm going next. I honestly, I don't think you have to fast forward to October, November. I think you can fast forward to the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Kyler Murray's going to be gone, and let me just rapid fire real quick. Aaron Rodgers, Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins, Mac Jones, and Malik Willis. One of those 5 or 6 guys is going to be starting for this team. Where will they have them?
Oh, you had to include Aaron Rodgers in that? You had to?
We're playing musical chairs on the show today.
Sorry, just not feeling well. That is Bo Brock, Johnny Venerable. You can watch both of them on PHNX Cardinals today at 4:30. You can follow them on social at Johnny Venerable, at Bo Brock. And thank you guys for stopping by the Southwest Cardinals bias today. We appreciate it.
If you ever do this again, we quit. I won't be parent trapped into doing a non-PHNX Cardinals with Johnny again.
I think I heard producing too.
I think I heard, but like behind the scenes, Noah was like, "Why is Johnny here?" And I'm like, "Wow, rude." And I'm like, "Now I get it."